Mangwanani Malelepo Vukenjani Kekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Glenora Shipura. Good morning, Glenora. How are you?
I'm good. Mamuka say.
Tamuka kana mamuka. Okay, girl. Okay, I see you. All right.
Well, here's what you can expect on Africa Good Morning. Uganda's military rescues 3 students abducted by Islamist fighters. Gambia tightens rules for Indian drugs after cough syrup deaths. Tunisian journalist detained after criticizing President. Ronaldo receives Guinness World Record certificate for most caps achieved by a male player. We'll also be crossing over to Zimbabwe, speaking to our correspondent there, Talen Gore. Do stay tuned for Africa Good Morning.
Newsprint Namibia is a web offset printing operation that specializes in the printing of newspapers and commercial inserts. We are the leaders in our industry with the highest quality print work and the shortest turnaround time from computer to print and delivery anywhere in the country daily. Newsprint was established mainly as a newspaper print company, but had to diversify its business to do commercial printing as required in the market. We print commercial inserts previously printed in South Africa in the shortest possible time. We, as an organization, also started printing workbooks for our education system and will also print textbooks for the Namibian market. For more information, please contact print@newsprint.com.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Let's get into the top stories on Thursday, the 22nd of June. We start off in Uganda, as Uganda's military has rescued 3 of the 6 students who were kidnapped by Islamist fighters when they stormed a school in the west of the country last week and massacred 42 people, mostly young students, the army said on Wednesday. There were 6 students kidnapped and 3 have so far been rescued, said military spokesperson Felix Kulaige. A woman with 2 children who had been kidnapped outside the school was also rescued together with her children, while 2 militants were killed and 2 guns captured, Kulaigia said. On Friday night, a group of fighters from the Allied Democratic Forces, a group stormed the Lubirira Secondary School in Pondwe on Uganda's border with the Democratic Republic of Congo. The following report is courtesy of Reuters.
At a police station in western Uganda, parents wait to give DNA samples. Their children are missing after a brutal attack on the Lubirira Secondary School in Mpondwe last week. It was one of Uganda's worst massacres in recent decades. A boys' dormitory was set alight. In a dormitory for girls, victims were hacked to death. 42 bodies have been recovered. Mpondwe District Police Commander Tai Ramadan said many were burnt beyond recognition.
Now, in our next story, Gambia tightens rules for Indian drugs after cough syrup deaths. Gambia will make it mandatory for all pharmaceutical products from India to be inspected and tested prior to shipment from July 1, according to Gambian government documents reviewed by Reuters, the first known restrictions on national exports following the deaths of dozens of children linked to Indian-made cough syrups. The new rule highlights how governments are reassessing their reliance on India's $42 billion pharmaceutical industry since the contamination came to light last year. India's industry supplies nearly half of the pharmaceuticals used in Africa. In April, India's government said its officials had held meetings in Africa to ensure its drug exports did not suffer after at least 70 children died in Gambia after ingesting the cough syrup last year. Now, Gambia's latest move is to address issues related to substandard and falsified counterfeit medicines entering the country. The executive director of its Medicines Control Agency, Marku Janakaira, wrote in a letter to India's Drug Controller General.
Now, prominent Tunisian journalist Ziad Henny was detained late on Tuesday after a judge ordered he be held in custody ahead of his trial on a charge of insulting President Kais Saied. The detention fuels concerns over free speech in Tunisia since Saied seized extra powers in 2021, moving to rule by decree and then assuming authority over the judiciary. Henny, the presenter of a daily radio program, has not commented on the allegations of insulting the president, which carry a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison. Judges have detained or opened investigations into more than 20 political, judicial, media and business figures with opposition ties over recent months, accusing some of plotting against state security. The main opposition parties have decried the arrests as politically motivated, and rights groups have urged authorities to free those detained. Saied has described the detainees as terrorists, criminals and traitors, and says judges who free them would be abetting their alleged crimes.
Missing Titanic sub, U.S. Coast Guard confirms underwater noises detected in search area. The U.S. Coast Guard confirmed early on Wednesday that rescue teams looking for the missing Titanic submersible detected underwater noises in the search area where the craft went missing 2 days earlier. Canadian P-3 aircraft detected underwater noises in the search area. As a result, remotely operated vehicle operations were relocated in an attempt to explore the origin of the noises, the U.S. Coast Guard's 1st District said on its official Twitter page. The ROV searches have yielded negative results but continue, the Maritime Military Branch added. All communication was lost with a 6.5-meter craft during its descent on Sunday to see the remains of the British passenger liner, which is nearly 4 kilometers below the surface of the North Atlantic. Now, U.S. and Canadian Coast Guard ships and planes are scouring around 20,000 kilometers squared of ocean, larger than the U.S. state of Connecticut, for the vessel, which was attempting to dive about 650 kilometers off the coast of the Newfoundland, Canada. Now, data from the Canadian aircraft had been shared with U.S. Navy experts to inform future search plans.
And the University of Namibia and Radboud University signed an agreement this week at the State House in Windhoek for the realization of the construction of the Africa Millimeter Telescope in Namibia. The agreement is the confirmation of earlier memorandums of understanding to explore possibilities to build a millimeter wave radio telescope. With funding secured, the design and construction phase can now formally continue. Signing the agreement took place in the presence of Namibian President Hage Geingob, Prime Minister of the Netherlands Mark Rutte, and Prime Minister of Denmark Mette Frederiksen. That brings us to the end of our top stories on Africa. Good morning. As you know, Zimbabwe goes to elections in August on the 23rd, and Talent Gore will be giving us update as we look forward to that. Stay with us.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and oneup2.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Allgemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Now, a number of female politicians and presidential candidates at the 2023 August elections are set to drop. Here to bring us this story is Talent Gore from Zimbabwe. Good morning, Talent.
Good morning, Diana, and Africa. Good morning. So, the number of female candidates for the August 23 harmonized election is set to drop significantly this year due to several challenges, including the exorbitant nomination fees, which were introduced by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. Apparently, if one wants to be a president, she or he has to pay 20,000 United States dollars, and if one wants to be an MP, he or she has to pay 1,000 United States dollars. So the females are saying that we can't afford to pay 20,000 United States dollars for us to be presidents in this country. So the woman who was in the picture is Linda Musarara, who wants to be a president in Zimbabwe, and she was saying that the 20,000 United States dollars, which is required for one to be a president, the nomination fee is too steep, and many females are set to drop out due to that challenge. Apparently, yesterday was nomination day, and she, however, managed to pay 138 million Zimbabwean dollars, which is almost equivalent to 20,000, and she now has to pay the balance. But the day before, she was saying that she could not afford to pay that, but yesterday she managed to pay.
All right. I mean, I do think it should be made affordable. At the same time, I wonder how she plans on dealing with campaign costs, which are generally way more than 20,000 US dollars. Now, speaking of two gentlemen who will have no problem being on the Zimbabwean ballot, and arguably the two biggest names, and some people might say the only relevant names in the election, Nelson Chamisa, Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, have officially registered. Tell us about that.
Yes, on Tuesday, President Emerson Mnangagwa and Nelson Chamisa, who is the leader of the opposition Citizens Coalition for Change, filed their nomination papers, and yesterday they went to the nomination courts. Yesterday was nomination day, and they went to the nomination courts to view and to see if their papers are in order. And some of the people who actually filed their nomination papers are Xavier Kaskuere, who is former cabinet minister, and we have Linda Musarara, and we also have a lawyer who's called Love Momadu, who also filed for presidential nomination. Their papers were accepted. Apparently, Xavier Kaskuere could not be available, but rather he sent someone to drop off his nomination papers, and the nomination papers were accepted. So now we'll wait to see. They only have 60 days to campaign until the election day. So now we wait for those who want to be presidents and for those who want to be members of parliament to start campaigning for their parties. And yeah, so that is all for now.
Well, do keep us updated on that. Now, moving on, Zimbabwe has launched a SADC-compliant driver's license. Can you expand on the story?
Yes, government has finally launched the new standard plastic driver's license linked to a database that will replace the mental licenses. The new Zimbabwean license will be scannable and meet the international standards of SADC, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, and the East African Community. So in the picture, it's the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development, who actually launched the new plastic license. Apparently, Zimbabwe is not the first country to start using the plastic license. We have South Africa, which already uses the plastic license. So as it stands, Zimbabwe will start rolling out the new plastic licenses. As you all know, for the past years, Zimbabwe has been having issues with its driver's licenses. You find out that there is a backlog of 600,000 licenses, people who are waiting for their licenses, and the government said that in the coming days, in the coming weeks, they will be unveiling and they'll be giving people the plastic licenses. They also say that the introduction of the plastic license will also will reduce the backlog. So now we're just waiting for the government to start rolling out the plastic licenses. They've said that everyone who has a metal license is now free to come and apply for the new plastic license, which will come out in approximately 7 days.
All right, all right. You know, just before you go, just swinging back to the elections, the nominations, which is very, very important. One of the names also was Robert Chapman. I saw he tweeted this morning that he managed to put in his nomination, but I do find it very interesting, just something to observe. Xavier Kasukuwere, who's also running, used to be a part of ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is run by President Emerson Mnangagwa. Xavier Kasukuwere used to be part of it, but Lovemo Maduku is particularly fascinating because if you heard of the gold mafia scandal which came out, which involved Hubert Angel, who was appointed by the president, who is also the leader of ZANU-PF. There were issues with how they were handling national funds, to put it lightly, and his lawyer was Maduku. So very interesting to see how that transpires, Talent. I wonder if some of these people even think they'll win.
Yes, apparently people actually think that Lovemo Maduku has a very questionable character, that he represents ZANU-PF and he's a lawyer, but at the end of the day, he's his own party. So it's quite amusing how he deals his work and him being in the pretrial.
Yes, yes. I'd say Lovemo Maduku and Jonathan Moyo are in the same WhatsApp group. Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, this is still Africa. Good morning. Let's have a look at the weather predictions.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
You are still watching Africa Good Morning. Let's get into your economic news. South Africa, Netherlands, and Denmark launch Green Fund. South Africa President Cyril Ramaphosa and the governments of the Netherlands and Denmark launch a $1 billion green hydrogen fund to help kickstart an industry in the fight against climate change.
Now, South Africa's energy transition plan to set up an export hub for green hydrogen aims to use renewable energy without producing greenhouse gas emissions. During a business forum held at the Capital Hotel in Pretoria, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said South Africa has what it takes to lead the fight against climate change. With its enormous renewable resources, South Africa is uniquely positioned to become a key player in the global hydrogen market, and the Netherlands is equally well positioned to become a strategic partner, he said. That brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Up next is the economic indicators, and right after that, your sports stories.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with football news. First, it is football news from the Euro 2024 qualifying games that continue, and it is the Euro 2024 tournament that will be in Germany from next year, June. In Group J, it was Portugal that played against Iceland, important win for them. They beat them by 1-0. They left it late. It was Cristiano Ronaldo that scored the late winner in the game, and significant also for Cristiano Ronaldo. He becomes the first men's player to win 200 international caps for his country, and that is the world leading in terms of caps for your country. It was also Cristiano Ronaldo's 123rd goal for his country. That's also the leading in world international men's football. In other games that was played in Euro 2024 qualifying, it was in Group A. It was Scotland that beat Georgia by 2-0. Important win for them. And then also in Group F, there were two games. It is Austria that beat Sweden by 2-0. That was at home in Austria. And then a good away win for Belgium. They beat Estonia by 3-0. Continuing with tennis news on international sport, and quite a few grass court tournaments being played on the ATP and WTA side of the tour, men and women's side, and that's leading up to Wimbledon that will start at the 3rd of July, so it's coming up very closely. And on the men's side, it is the Queen's tournament that started, and Andy Murray of Britain, he lost in the first round. He lost to Alex de Minaur of Australia, and the score there was 6-3 and 6-1. Quite significant for Andy Murray, probably because of this result not be seeded at Wimbledon. And also it is number 1 seed Carlos Alcaraz. He had a tough first round game against the qualifier Arthur Rindersneck. He is from France, and he won in 3 tough sets, 4-6, 7-5 and 7-6. Easier win for the second seed, that is Holger Rune, and Holger Rune won 7-6, 7-6 in 2 sets against Maxime Chesney of the USA. On the women's side, it is the Birmingham Classic that started, and it's a British number 1, Katie Boulter, that had a tough start. She won the Nottingham Open quite recently, but lost in the first round now to China's Xu Ling, the score 7-5 and 7-5. Then it's a German Open that continued on the WTA women's side of world tennis. It is highly ranked Elena Rybakina that's through to the next round. She beat Polina Kademetova, and the score 6-4 and 6-2. And also Aryna Sabalenka. She is also very highly ranked on the world rankings. She beat Vera Sverinova. She's from Russia. The score 6-3 and 6-2 to advance to the second round. Then to conclude international sports news for today, it is cricket news. The first of 5 Ashes tests was concluded. That was at Edgbaston, and it is England playing against Australia in the 5 Ashes test matches, and it's the first test that's going to Australia. It was a very competitive and entertaining 5 days of cricket, and it was Australia that won in the end by only 2 wickets. Australia needed to make 281 in their second innings. That's a tough ask on the 5th day, and they made it for the loss of 8 wickets. They scored 282 for the loss of 8 wickets. Big contributions right at the end. The last wicket stand was between Pat Cummins, he's the captain of Australia, and also Nathan Lyon, and they scored 55 unbeaten runs for the last wicket, and it was Pat Cummins, the captain, with 44 unbeaten runs.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's get into the highlights from this morning's broadcast. Uganda's military rescues 3 students abducted by Islamist fighters. Gambia tightens rules for Indian drugs after cough syrup deaths. Tunisian journalist detained after criticizing president. And South Africa, Netherlands, Denmark launch Green Fund.
And with that, we've come to the end of our broadcast. Don't forget that you can catch Africa Good Morning tomorrow, same time, same place. From me, Glenn Rashipura.
And me, Ashwin Berry, Suraj Kanaka.